Hi, welcome back to another Bear Maker project. What's in this box? I thought you'd never ask. Let's find out. You probably actually know what's in the box because it's on the title screen for the video and in the title of the video and in the description of the video. So it's an axe, but not like a dangerous axe. I mean, it would still hurt if you whacked someone with it, but it's all made of wood, no metal. There's a few 3D printed parts. We'll get to those in a bit. The axe head itself is made from maple with a padauk and walnut layer in the middle. I was going to do all padauk, but I didn't have enough, so I just put some walnut in the middle, just because it was the same thickness, and it won't really be seen that much, it just needed to take up space. And with it sandwiched, you just got to add all the clamps to it. When you think you have enough clamps, add some more clamps, and then add a couple more after that, just to be safe. Probably still could have fit a few more on there. And then you just remove the clamps. And I didn't really have a straight edge coming out of the clamps because I didn't clamp it together perfectly. So I just used this sled, clamped it, and ran it through to get one straight edge that I could then use on my crosscut sled to reference and get 90-degree edges on the two perpendicular sides. And with those out of the way, I got rid of the crosscut sled and then just trimmed that last edge to be parallel. And with that done, I had the blank for the head down to size. I could hop into Illustrator and draw up a template to get a nice even shape to cut out for the actual head of the axe. And here I'm just creating half of it, and then I mirrored it so that they were both the same and I didn't have to worry about making it perfectly same in Illustrator because I'm still new to that. So that process took me longer than it probably would have taken most other people. But then it was just bandsaw and belt sander to get everything cleaned up and right on the lines so they were nice and crisp. And then I could take to removing the template, except for the middle part, which I left because I thought I was still going to do that design. But you'll see later I changed my mind on that. I didn't like how that worked. But I just drew out where the edges would be. So I had a nice even line to sand to all the way around. And then here I'm just kind of tracing out the middle a little better because I wanted that middle section to sit proud of where like the blades of the axe would be. And that's what I'm doing here is I'm just cutting off extra from each face, about 1/4 of an inch. So I had less to sand down to make like the edge of the blade. And this was quite a bit of work. More than I expected it to be. I probably should have expected it to be quite a bit of work, but I thought it'd be simple. But it wasn't. But it worked out. Using the pull saw and chisels got me pretty close. And then I just got kind of creative with how I was sawing it to make it to where it was easier to just kind of knock these chunks off without having to take off that whole weird shaped section. And then it came time to actually sharpen the axe, get the blades down to somewhat of a point. And I thought I had a really good idea of using this drum on the sander like this, but no, it did not work. And I was like, okay, I'll use a rasp. That wasn't so great either. Grabbed a little block plane, and that worked pretty well, but it was still slow going. And it took me probably longer than it should have to realize that a belt sander was the right way to go here, because that would just chew through it, and less work. I wouldn't have to do the work of using the hand plane, and I could just clamp this up and get pretty consistent results. And after the belt sander, I moved on to some hand sanding, just with some sandpaper wrapped around a block of wood, just to give me a flat surface to sand with. And to make sure I could get into all the little corners and all that, having the 90-degree edge with the sandpaper on it really helped. And a chisel, just to kind of clean up those edges a little bit more. This still didn't get perfect. My chiseling skills definitely need some work, Pretty much all my hand tool stuff needs work. Like, those are skills that I have not used that much. But I can still tell when I use them that I'm better than I used to be. So, that's good. Progress, at least. Maybe one day I'll take on a project that I use only hand tools, but it would have to be a small project, because it seems like a lot of work. But with all the sanding and chiseling and final shaping done with that, I could move on to drilling the hole that would go through the handle, or through the head for the handle, rather. That makes more sense. And my drill press doesn't have enough depth to go all the way through, so I had to drill in from the top and then flip it over and drill in from the bottom, which I thought I did pretty good at until I got the holes drilled and realized they weren't lined up very well. And here, that's why I'm cutting the handle, so I can have it look like it goes all the way through with a chunk in the top and a chunk in the bottom. But as you can see here, the holes don't line up. There's a lip on either side. So when I put the handle in, you can see it even better. Like, that is not great. But it worked, it's good enough. And here I'm just drilling out the hole for the emblem that I printed. I 3D printed an emblem to adorn the sides of the axe. So I'm just getting a 2-inch hole drilled that will nest down into, and then I'll epoxy it in place. And this actually drilled out part of the handle too, so I had to make sure I had the handle spun the right way when I put it all together. And here's the emblem printed. And it fit in there nice and snug, which is what I was hoping for. And then I'll add some epoxy to it later, and it'll get stuck in there. I did paint that. I didn't want it to be white, so I didn't film it, but I just put a coat of metallic gray paint that had a hammered finish on it. I think it gave it a nice look. And then on the handle, I just used some super glue and wrapped this leather, I don't remember exactly what it was called, but it's leather from Michaels or Hobby Lobby. I forget which one I got it from. I just wrapped it up the handle a good bit, just using super glue, going slow to make sure it stayed in place, and then moved on. There were some places where the super glue leaked out through the seam and kind of ruined just the plain leather finish look, so I added super glue to the handle, just give it all like a weathered kind of aged look, and you'll see that in a bit. And then here I'm just mixing up some red tinted epoxy so I can fill in the majority of the emblems that sit on the side, the faces of the axe. I just wanted the white of the dragon shape to kind of peek through, like it is here. And I let those sit for 24 hours so they could cure, and then it was just a matter of getting everything assembled. And then after assembly, I got it delivered to my nephew, and he was super happy with it. Made sure to tell him not to hit any people with it, because it would still hurt. It's not sharp, but it would still hurt. And he really liked it. He was happy with it. I think unwrapping it confused him because of the shape of the box, but once he saw what it was, he was pretty excited. And it made a nice addition to his weapon rack. Oh, a frog. Hi, frog. Anyway, this was a fun project. If you have any questions or thoughts about it, feel free to ask them down in the comments below. Otherwise, be sure to check us out on Instagram to see what I'm up to between videos, and be sure to subscribe so you see those new videos. Thank you all so much for watching. You have a wonderful day.